Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, we have an absolutely rocking 90 minutes for you. We're talking Astrobot, hands-on impressions, Game of the Year 2024, question mark, we'll see. PlayStation getting the GTA marketing, is that ultimately a miss from Microsoft, or is there something that Microsoft knows that the other people don't? We'll see about that. We have a lot to get into, folks. Those are the two main crux of the conversation that we're going to get into. And of course, I'm a platform guy. Everyone knows it. I've been rah-rahing Astrobot, and it didn't let me down. I am 3.5 hours in, and I am having an absolutely astounding blast with it. But we got a lot of games to talk about because obviously the Call of Duty beta is back today for the whole weekend. I'm very stoked because I'm going to play it. We also have, obviously, Astrobot. We're going to get into that. Space Marine 2, if you bought it through early access, if you bought the Big Boy Edition, which I did, you get early access. I know a couple of people that are playing it for a review, and I've heard some things, and I've seen some things that, wow, that game is basically Gears of War incarnate in the Warhammer universe. Everything a dude bro shooter guy or gal could possibly want. But let's welcome in Korkenstein. Brother, you're back on days. I know you're feeling fresh, well, refreshed, I should say. Back to a normal sleep schedule is always great. How you feeling? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, brother. Yeah, definitely feels great to be on a normal schedule now. I got way more time now to start doing gaming and everything else and start creating the content again. So yeah, man, I'm excited. Been playing Astrobot since Wednesday. I was lucky enough to get an early copy. And then, yeah, I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, me too. If you're seeing the footage and it's stuttering for some reason, again, my connection seems to be unstable. I don't know what it is. This 2 days in a row this is happening. I have to check it. So I'm just going to stop the footage for now. I'm going to just remove it and see if we can get back. I may have to reset my router at some point because, this is not good. But let me just get this back to, again, it's a very unappealing screen, folks. It's just three guys on the screen. And see if I can get I may have to step away if this continues to stutter. I don't know what the hell is going on. We haven't had any bad weather. It's crazy that I'm having these issues for the last couple of days. I might just have to reset everything and see what's happening. But hey, Fuzzy Belvedere, good morning, kind sir. How you feeling?
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Man, I've been trying to stay off of Twitter just because it's just bad take after bad take, but it's good to see that people are having fun with games. Call of Duty beta, like you said, is back this weekend, so looking to hop into that because I missed out last weekend. But yeah, there's a lot of games to play, a lot of fun to be had out there, a lot of topics to get into, so can't wait to do that today. Glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. As I do the speed test, and I don't know what's going on. I got 836 megabits down and 35 and change because that's all we have over here. We don't have the fiber optic, but listen, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out one way or another. Obviously, we're going to just remove this footage and we're going to see if we can get it back. Oh, yes, it's back up to normal. So listen, again, folks, apologies for the unappealing 3 boxes. I got to get artwork for 2 and 3 boxes. But listen, you're here to talk about video games, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's get into it. And I want to rip the Band-Aid right off. We got to talk about Astrobot. This is a game that, in my opinion, Sony needed in the worst way. They have had a rough go at it. Obviously, they opened up the week with the closure of Concord, or the announcement that Concord is closing as of today. That's not, I mean, listen, we're not going to talk about that. That's dust in the wind at this point. It is what it is. It's a failure. But more so than just Concord, Korkenstein, the reason why I want to just take a nice RTS Steel Rain step back and look at the playing field is Sony hasn't had a good run in a couple of years. I know there's going to be people that are going to push back on it, like, oh, this is an Xbot guy just talking trash. It's not that. We're having a conversation. look at what has happened to PlayStation. Yes, I know people are going to run with it. They sold consoles for the love of Joe. Yes, I totally get it. They sold 61 million consoles or shipped them, whatever you want to, whichever narrative you want to run with. Congratulations. That's amazing. But we also got to talk about what they've done in the last 24 months. They've had mediocre shows. They've had literally no first party games come out outside of Spider-Man and MLB The Show, which is MLB is a multi-plat. Does that really count? They've had a few PC releases that's done some well. The highlight of the year outside of Astrobot is, of course, Helldivers 2. You can't deny. Yes, it's fallen off a bit, but you cannot deny that that game did big numbers, especially on Steam, and it was ultra smart for Sony to do a dual release, which again is where I'm going to have some smoke for them with Astrobot, because I think they should have done a dual release there. I think that's a big miss, considering the fanfare that's behind this game and how excited people like myself, like I don't play on PC, but there is definitely PC players that would have played this game. There's no doubt about it. Interestingly enough, they just added the use of their DualSense on PC, so it would have coincided really nicely. Oddly, they decided not to release it on PC. It's to me, it's just one of those strange things.
Mhm.
So go back a couple of years, again, unappealing showcases, games as a service as being the running narrative, right? Nobody wanted those. They went away from first party. They have not had a good time. So this Astrobot fanfare is something that the brand needed. There's just no doubt about it. I have my controller. Thankfully, it be delivered today, and I almost got a big miss. Oh, you got it. Nice. Excellent. Well, look, here's the thing. I don't like Sony Corporation, and here's one of the reasons why. They changed their payment schedule where they don't take American Express. I didn't know that because I didn't
Yeah,
get
it's
an
weird.
email, right? You know what I did get is when I went to go look up my order, it was canceled. And I'm like, oh shit. Now I'm screwed because this controller selling for $200 on eBay. I'm not buying it. And thankfully, the other morning I went to a PlayStation Direct. They still had it and they shipped it on time. It's already on the UPS truck. I'm not telling you where I live, so you can't steal it. And I'm very excited. But this is a triumph for PlayStation in a big way. They needed this. I'm happy for PlayStation Nation. I'm happy as a platformer guy myself. I'm very much enjoying this. This is a absolute love letter to anyone that is a platform fan, anyone that is an OG PlayStation fan that appreciates some of the characters that's come through that brand. I am one of those. This is fantastic. But I just want to be very clear here. If you don't like platformers, there is nothing about this game that you're going to like. I'm going to 100% tell you this is a platform, MF platforming type of game. It is true. It's a true sequel, in my opinion. Again, only 3.5 hours in. I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning and started playing. Stayed up for an hour, went back to sleep, got up at 6, started playing, and I've been playing ever since, and I'm loving it. But if you are not a PlayStation platformer kind of a guy, like you enjoy Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter back in the days, even Ratchet and Clank, you are not going to like this game. You're just not. It is very controller focused, meaning the DualSense is used to its absolute limitations in the best way possible. So if you don't like the DualSense and you don't like platformers, rest assured you are not going to like this game. Make no mistake on that. But the scores are through the roof. It's currently sitting at a 94 Metacritic. Now, I know there's some people pushing back on the score, saying that it's a overblown score. I can't score it. I got under 4 hours into it. I'm not giving it a score yet. I want to put 25, 30 hours into this, platinum this bad boy, because I'm going to platinum this game like I did the first one, and then I'll give my score. But it is something special. It is really, really fun. Again, interesting information. So one of the biggest problems for PlayStation over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, Korkenstein, has been their ballooning budgets.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 cost SIE, or Sony Interactive Entertainment, $315 million to make. That is unbelievably expensive. Through the unfortunate leaks that came the way of Insomniac when they were hacked, we learned that it was projected that Spider-Man 3 was going to be $400+ million. And obviously, there've been a lot of changes since then. So I don't think that's going to be the case. There's some rumor that that's going to come out in 3 parts to lower it, to kind of lower the cost. And of course, people are going to buy the game at $70, and they're going to balloon their profits by cutting one game into 3. That's the rumor. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. I want the next Spider-Man to feel like, well, a full-fledged Spider-Man game, not a Miles Morales, because Miles Morales was great, but it was just smaller, much smaller than Spider-Man 2018. Well, Korkenstein, I have an article here from GameRex.com. It was written by Wade Divini, posted yesterday. It's about a 1-minute read, and it has confirmation here that Astrobot cost only, and I'm being not being facetious, but I'm just being like honest compared to the budgets that these games are costing these days, only $20 million to make. And that is pretty good considering the fanfare. Now, this is obviously already slated by many as a Game of the Year contender. They're not wrong. It's got a very high Metacritic. My concern is whether or not the actual PlayStation Nation gets out and buys the game.
Yeah,
we will have to see. But Korkenstein, let's get a couple of things here. Let's get your playtime experience. What are your thoughts? What are your theories? And more importantly, let's get back to how PlayStation actually needed this W.
Yeah, so it's been an absolute blast. So far, I gave impressions on my Twitter account about it. So far, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Just from the audio, the visual, just like the play style, the gameplay, all of it has put a smile on my face. I grew up with the PlayStation. PlayStation. I had a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and now PlayStation 5. But I also have had Xbox, and I just prefer that to be my primary console. But with that said, yeah, I mean, there's so much nostalgia that's coming back. Like you say, it's a love letter to platformers, which is true. It's also really a love letter to PlayStation. They pretty much have so much nostalgia packed in that, you're going to see a lot of stuff. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that game, or, oh wow, that character, there's a lot of really cool stuff like that. And then, so basically for those that don't know, the story is very, very heavily PlayStation involved.
Yes.
So you're basically flying in space. Alien takes a CPU from your ship, and your ship's actually a PlayStation 5. And you're basically trying to rebuild your PlayStation 5 ship to fly again. That's basically what the narrative is. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. I've just had an absolute blast with it. I'm trying to think. It doesn't really take away from anything, I don't think. Like, I would think, that would seem kind of cringy for a lot of people, like throwing, the PlayStation 5 in there, but it honestly just naturally fits with Astrobot, especially to see where they've come, where Astrobot was pretty much practically a tech demo for the PlayStation 5 and DualSense to now this full-fledged release. It's amazing what they've done with this title and what they've done with this IP. So yeah, so far I said 10 out of 10. I'm about to finish the second world. I think I'm one world away from the boss. The boss fights are pretty awesome too, very innovative. There's just a lot of really cool things that this does right. This is a new standard for platformers, in my opinion. I mean, at least until Mario comes out. But because Mario's always going to be king of platformers, but I think it puts a lot of pressure on anybody else entering the platformer next gen market, that it has to live up to this level of hype, and just gameplay and everything like that. with that said, yeah, this is a big win for PlayStation. They really needed this. Like I said, we've learned from the leaks that they ballooned their budgets, which brought low margins. You mentioned, Spider-Man. That's not even including the per console sold. They had to give Disney a part of that money of all the stuff that was Spider-Man or sold with it. So not only that, they're paying royalties on top of that, or licensing fees. So that's another thing. Which is why it's like 351 dollars, but for something that's only 20 million, it's just absolutely amazing. The gameplay is very basic, but it's very rewarding and fulfilling. So PlayStation needed this. They really did. They've just kind of floundered the last 2 years, and they've rested on their laurels. This is why I always say that it reminds me of the PS3 era. Of when they released, they kind of got, they had an amazing PlayStation 2 year, gen that was absolutely awesome. And then they got way too comfortable. They released a console that was very overpriced. They didn't have a very great launch schedule. And it just kind of floundered to start. Eventually it kind of grew out of it. It did the Xbox 360 kind of thing, or the Xbox One, to where at the end of its life cycle, it was pretty great towards the end. So they definitely needed this. Concord, like I said, we've beaten that horse to death, or that pony to death, I guess you could say. It failed. It bombed. I hope they do come back as free to play. I think it does. The game does have legs. It's a fun game. It's very polished for me. I didn't see a lot of bugs. So I hope they come back as free to play. I hope they come to Xbox. Honestly, I think they need it. You can't lock free to play games behind one ecosystem. Speaking of that, Steam, big miss. I could see the thought process. This is a very heavily PlayStation focused narrative. You're flying a PS5, and your other ship is a DualSense controller. So with that said, it's a big miss for Steam. This would have drawn a lot of hype into, people would have gone out and gotten a DualSense controller. People would have been invested in those people that were PlayStation gamers that have now moved to PC, would have been like, oh wow, this is what I'm missing. There's so much nostalgia here. Why don't I have a PlayStation 5? That's the kind of thought process that gets started. So for them to just miss out on Steam, especially when we've already found out that half their players are still on PS4. This is a PS5 only game. So you're missing 50% of your market right now, purely because you don't want to branch out and do other things. It's just a weird decision. But like I said, Sony's been very weird. They're fighting multi-platform for some unknown reason, while Xbox is fully doubling down on it. It's a really weird strategy that is not going to play out how they think it will. So that's pretty much it. Astrobot 1010, really weird move for Steam. Sony needed this big win.
Great points all around. Fuzzy, this is, to kind of harp on the point of not having a Steam release. What's interesting is some factoids that Korkenstein dropped, right? More than 50% of their current PlayStation users, PS4. This is a PS5 only game, right? And again, oddly, they just allowed for full support for the DualSense on PC, right? You can use your DualSense on the PC, which of course this game takes advantage of. The game is basically built around the usage of this controller. Now, I like the controller. I know people don't. It has a terrible battery life. That's known. That's widely known. No big deals. No surprise. But this is a game that, I see a lot of people kind of pushing back on it. One of the running comments is that why all the glaze for this game? Well, there are a couple of reasons. Sony has had a really shit show of 24 months. That has to be known. That's not console war, and that's just actual facts. And again, just to kind of reiterate with the conversation that's happening in the chat, and we got over 400 people already watching. The Portal comes out to some fanfare, completely dies off. It's not what anyone asked for. It's not what anybody wanted. It's basically a streaming thing that you have to sit in front of your TV or in your house, and you can't. Yeah, it's just some use when you can do the streaming of your console. Sure, that nobody wanted that. That's not what everybody's playing. People are playing. They want to be able to download the game on the hardware and go. You can't do that. PlayStation VR 2.0 complete bombed, right? It bombed. It was supposed to release on PC. They offered a $60 switch, like an adapter. That adapter is a nightmare to install, according to Tom Warren. So that's another failure, right? They change in leadership. The troubles at Bungie, right? Where it's $3.6 billion investment completing imploding right now as we speak. It doesn't seem like they're going to be able to save the ship at some point. That they're gonna. Who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, Firewalk situation with Concord. No first party roadmap. No first party games outside of a couple of multi-plats. Third party deals, exclusives that were only on the box, that are great for the box on a paper. But what didn't happen? The PlayStation gamers, the ones that support the devs, well, they didn't support the devs. So why this is such a bombastic moment for PlayStation is because they really they've been overshadowed for years. Now, you might not see that written in the press and on the websites. According to the press and everybody, everything's good. Don't worry about it. Yeah. You know the GIF where the guy's like this. No, nothing to see here, folks. And the firework thing is exploding behind them. I mean, that's pretty much PlayStation. So the reason why it's getting so much quote unquote glaze, as the kids like to say, is because it is a triumph of a game. Now, again, it may not be a game for you, but it's certainly a game for me, and I'm enjoying it. It's a game for Korkenstein. Fuzzy, we'll get your hot take in a second, but I think really that is why you're seeing such elation for this game. Now, is it going to be Game of the Year? Well, I mean, it's Jeff Keighley's already touting it as a Game of the Year contender. It's going to get Game of the Year. It's going to have the highest Metacritic. It's released well before the Game Awards. It's going to get a lot of fanfare. I just don't know if the actual PlayStation gamers are going to get out and support it. Because again, and this is just to be completely clear, if you're not a platform guy or gal, this game is going to do absolutely nothing for you. But I am. So it is everything I could have asked for and a bag of chips. Let's get your hot take, Fuzzy.
Well, first, I'd like to start off saying this is probably not a game for me. While I played the first one when I got my PS5, it was a pack-in game. Awesome tech demo. Greatly appreciated the feedback, the haptic feedback in the controller for a lot of the different environments and things, which they do deserve credit for. But much like I complained about from the get-go, no other games really take that to that next level for that controller the rest of the way, even their first party. The lowest setting on Astrobot doesn't even it's even 10 times stronger than the strongest setting on any other game. So I'm disappointed in how the haptics have been used throughout other games, but for Astrobot, the first one, it was great. Now, overall, I'm not high on the platforming list. That's why I keep on telling a lot of people I'm not a Nintendo guy. Never really cared for Nintendo. Was more of a Sega kid and wasn't playing the platformers there. Was playing the arcade games there. So once again, it's a bit of a miss for me, but I can understand why people are excited for it, and especially on the PlayStation side. Like you said, this is pretty much the highlight they've had over the past couple of years. Sure, some will say, "Oh, Rise of the Ronin," or Stellar Blade or something like that, but those sold like 1 million copies or less, and there's still no more buzz about them. Things that probably should have also landed on PC, which I agree, this should have landed on PC as well. On top of that, I think it should have also landed where they had a PSVR 2 interaction type of thing, whether it's just 1 or 2 levels or a handful of the levels. There should have been some integration of the PSVR 2 with this. Like I said from the launch of the PSVR 2, they probably need to do an Astrobot-like thing for it, much like they did for the controller at the beginning of the PS5 generation. So it's a bit of a miss that they didn't do anything with the PSVR 2, but we all know why in that regard. As far as when it comes to the PS4 player base, like Korkenstein is right, there's like half of them are still on that PS4. What better way to entice them? Although I'm gonna be honest, I don't foresee this being the, the killer app that encourages the PS4 owner to upgrade to the PS5, but at least have like a demo that is like one level and say continue playing on a PS5. And maybe that will be that little nudge on some of the people that are on the fence, or maybe when the PS5 Pro comes out, whenever they choose to announce that. But that would be the thing to kind of lure some of the PS4 crowd into considering buying a PS5 or a PS5 Pro for this game and upcoming games, because Lord knows they need a roadmap at this time. But overall, it's good to see that people are enjoying the game. I'm not going to crap on somebody's, favorite game or a game that they're enjoying. That's not what this hobby is about. But for me, this really isn't going to be anything that's on my, buy list or watch list at this point. Like, if anything, I still think this should be a pack in for the PS5 Pro whenever they announce that.
Interesting. That's a good theory.
But outside of that, as far as Game of the Year nominations, of course, Keeley is going to give this a nod before, anything else is even remotely put into that basket. Black Myth Wukong will probably be in there as well. Unfortunately, I get the feeling that they're going to, snub Hellblade 2. I know that there's some people that enjoyed it, some people that didn't. I happen to enjoy it even more so than the first. And then with Indiana Jones, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to make the timing or the cutoff for that. So as good as it's going to be, it won't matter for this year, and it'll probably be forgotten by next year. But good on PlayStation for releasing this. Bad on PlayStation for not offering it on Steam or Epic. Bad on PlayStation for not integrating the PSVR or at least having a Astrobot like game for the PSVR 2, considering, but I guess they've already washed their hands of it for the most part. But overall, it's good that they finally have a highlight. Now we just need PlayStation to show up with a showcase to let us know what we're going to be looking forward to after Astrobot. I'm not going to get into the length of the game, not going to get into any of that stuff, but I would really like to know more from PlayStation on something like a Ghost of Tsushima 2 or something to that effect, or maybe Cory Barlog's, sci-fi rumored game that he might be working on. Those are things that are more of my, highlight as far as what I would be looking forward to from them. But I can understand with Astrobot being a platformer where there aren't that many outside of what's on Nintendo, it's a good move on their part.
I mean, you're not wrong. Again, playing the game, I'm only 3.5 hours in. The best compliment that I can give it, outside of it's just a beautiful game. It's just well done. It's just anyone that's a fan of platformers is going to love this game. It gives me the Mario Odyssey vibes, and the reason why I say that is it one-to-one quality? Mario Odyssey is leaps and bounds ahead of anything before it, and anything current, even Astrobot. It was a triumph. It was such a different take on what you can do. When you throw the hat, you can control creatures. Each board looks so oddly different than the other. I mean, even like the New York City board, like what? Like that game is old. I mean, like super old. How we don't have a sequel, which I believe is going to be a launch title for the Switch 2. That's a podcast for another day. But that's the vibes I get from this, because each one of the levels on Astrobot are distinctively different. You have your jungles and you have your deserts and things of that nature, but like there's one particular level that's like all ice cream. It's just, and you're running through the ice cream and it's moving. It's phenomenal looking. Like I said, I'm very much enjoying myself. I'm even more happy that my controller is going to be delivered today, and I'm going to have the matching controller that play with the game. I know that's kind of nerdy, but that's what being a gamer is all about. So I'm super stoked. Gentlemen, I want to catch up with super chats, but then I want to move the conversation. Now, I've seen a lot of people running with narratives as they do on social media, and I think both sides are wrong here. I see the one where nobody wants platformers. That's why Xbox is not making them. Right? I see that camp, and you're wrong. The other camp is the people that are panicking. Which, why would you panic? I don't know. But there is the running narrative where Microsoft has to respond. They do not. You're wrong there too. This is a situation where, as a platforming guy, I understand that we had Psychonauts 2, and it was a triumph just like this. Psychonauts 2 is a game that almost wasn't. Whether you know it or not, go watch the 31 episode thing on YouTube. I think it's 31 or 33 episodes with the team that made it. Why can't I think of them? Oh my God, what's the name of the developer? Gentlemen, help me out here. Oh, Double Fine. Double Fine is a treasure of the gaming industry. They just are. And that game almost wasn't. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for the purchase of that studio by Microsoft, there are no bosses in that game. That's a known fact. We've heard that. So as great as Psychonauts is and continues to be, well, we haven't had any platformers since then that are first party, and they have a lot of first party IP. I mean, we just heard that Crash Bandicoot 5 was canceled. That was supposed to have some sort of Spyro integration. That's with like a team up. That would have been dope. Well, that's done. Now we don't know what Toys for Bob is doing. We're going to get into that in a hot second, but let me just catch up on Super Chats. And I want to kind of lay down my points here because I think both sides are wrong. There's no reason to panic. Xbox is fine. Trust me. Look at June. Go if you're on the edge of madness, don't jump. Okay, take it easy. Go watch the June showcase again, and you're gonna get some feeling in your nether region. There's no doubt about it. Well worth watching again. Xbox is okay, but to suggest that platformers aren't needed on that platform, well, I'm going to push back on you and say that you're wrong there as well. But we'll get to that in a hot second. Will Broke Boy Lewis, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says Astrobot should definitely go to PC. Sony wants to send games to that platform to convince people to buy a PlayStation. This game pretty much is an ad for PlayStation. Well said. It absolutely, indeed it is. Don Otaku, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat. And Don goes on to say, the same fan base that made fun of cartoony games from Xbox and Nintendo games in general are hyping up Astrobot to sweep Concord under the rug. And see, that's a 100% true statement right there. There is no falsities, not in one word. Because of course, when they get a W, and this is a pretty big one, it's a pretty big W when it comes to Metacritic, because that's what everyone uses as their metric for good or bad games. 94 is tremendous. Now, again, whether you believe it's inflated scores or not, these are the scores. I can't score it. I refuse to score it after 3.5 hours. I'm not a fraud. I need to put 20 hours into a game before I review it. I can give you my impressions, and I'm very much in love with this game, but that doesn't mean that it's a 10 out of 10. And it certainly doesn't mean that it's my game of the year, but that's a well-written statement there, Don. Thanks so much for the generosity and, of course, being here as always. Will Broke Boy Lewis drops not one, but $2 super chats, and he goes on to say the first one says Jeff Keighley's tweet alone for the game is Game of the Year nomination. Yeah, I mean, listen, Keighley is who we thought he was, like Dennis Green of the Vikings said all those years ago. Yes, that's true. His second $2 super chat said, why does Core keep stealing my points? That's twice. That's good stuff.
Geniuses think alike, Will. Geniuses think alike.
That's right. Great minds think alike. Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. We have a new channel member, King Webb. Welcome, kind sir. Thank you so much for the outstanding support as always. We super appreciate it. And Robert Young said the last time that he played Mario Odyssey, he had 420 hours into that. I mean, dude, that game is. My nephew's beaten it 3 times. We every time he comes over and he wants to, go to yesteryear because he's all about Smash. My nephew is ridiculous in Smash. As a matter of fact, I needed his help to get all the characters. He just ran through. He's like, "Hey, Theo, here you go. I got all the characters for you. All right, you're the best. Thank you." I mean, listen, Mario Odyssey is that is a special game, and I hope that we get a sequel, and I hope that sequel is a launch title for the Switch too, because that would be dope. Gentlemen, and Corkenstein, I want to go to you first. Look, again, like I said moments ago, there is something to be said about narratives. And narratives usually go one way and they're not objective. And the narratives that are running rampant on social media right now are of two minds, and they're both wrong. One of which is the Microsoft has to respond. And I say again, they do not. Their lineup, their roadmap for the next 3 to 4 years is so rock solid, so steadfast, that they have the best lineup for games in the industry. Now, whether those go multi-plat or they don't is irrelevant. Those are Microsoft and Xbox first-party games that you can play on Game Pass day and date. There is something to be said about having that roadmap in front of us. And mind you, there's a ton of stuff that we don't know that what they're working on, right? So no room for panic here, folks. And the other side, and this is where I got even more pushback for you, is when we start hearing the dude bros with their very loud, deep voices telling me, an old man who likes platformers, that we don't need that on this platform. You are 1,000% wrong, because the spice of life, at least what I've been told and what I've grown up with, is variety. And having a variety is a perfect example of what Game Pass is as a platform. This week alone, on that platform, both Game Pass and purchasable games, you got the Call of Duty beta, you got Age of Empires, right? Is that what came out? The Age that came out. Everyone's enjoying it. That has 20,000 current players right now on it. You have Space Marine 2. You got a bunch of stuff that have come out. So Game Pass as just a platform, if we're talking only Game Pass, just look at what they've released in that service the last couple of weeks and months. There is room for everything to grow there. So when I hear people say, well, Boom, you're a minority in this, you might be correct. You might be correct. But I think that when you have a stockpile of Conquer and Banjo and Spyro and Crash just sitting there, just literally just sitting there, to me, it just makes no sense to take advantage of it. And look, I'm going to say this right now, and this is going to probably get me a lot of pushback, maybe even some lost subs. I freaking hope Astrobot wins Game of the Year. I absolutely do. And you know why I say that? Not for a platform war horse shit. No, what it's going to say to the industry as a whole is that you can spend $20 million on a game. It doesn't have to be a team of 19,000 people making it, and it can make money. Now, again, I say make money as an asterisk because we have to see if PlayStation Nation shows up. They talk a lot of smack, but usually they sit on their hands and they put their and a lot of these players have big voices, short arms, and super deep pockets, so they can't grab the money. Let's be honest. They're not game buyers. They're just not. Like a Tyrannosaurus. Oh, look, I can't get to my wallet. Sorry, I can't buy the game. That's a lot of PlayStation gamers. It just is. But again, now I want to kind of flip it to the Banjo Bros. And there are a few of us. We're small. We're a small team. Paris Lily's a part of that crew. Ainsley from Season Gaming. A couple people reach out to me. Like, there it is, Corkenstein, Banjo Bro. We can't. Fuzzy, the door's open, but we know you're gonna pass on it. You're probably gonna. If I handed you a racing ticket, you're joining. But listen, we're platformers. He has no. It's fine. We still love you nonetheless.
Hey, Banjo part, I'm there.
Okay, well there you go. So he's a Banjo Bro. He's a closet Banjo Bro. That's what I'm talking about. Look, Banjo Kazooie. I've been banging this drum for months, for years. This channel is going to be turning 6 years old in November. As a matter of fact, again, kind of toot own horn. We just did the advertisement for it, and I didn't know we were going to hit it. 6.5 million views in under 6 years for the channel, which is just madness. Like we just got a email congratulating us from YouTube. I didn't actually know they did that, but they did. So well, here we go. I've been talking about this for years. I did not like Nuts and Bolts. I tried. I went back and I played it. Good looking game, but it's not the Banjo game that I want. And I think that if you wanted to find out if there is a place for Banjo in 2024 and beyond, you make a smaller game, but you just do a high quality, balls to the wall Resident Evil 2 level remake of the original. The bones are there. Just build off the bones. Don't change it. Don't make it a modern playable game in 2020 whatever, which they could do. Resident Evil 2, if you try to play it now, one of my favorite games. It is literally my #1 favorite game of all time, right? And you try to play that now, and that game is it's just terrible. Camera angles are awful, controller are awful, graphics are just, my eyes are bleeding when I'm watching it. But that game was a game that I beat 100 times. Banjo Kazooie, it hasn't aged well. So you have the bones. And I'm sorry to say, and I know I'm going to get that. This is where the virtual tomatoes come out, guys. I know it. I could feel it. They're gonna fill up the screen. You specifically build that game as a multi-plat game, and I don't care if you launch it on PlayStation. I don't give a shit about that. You launch it on Nintendo. I would even dare say team up with Nintendo to get this thing done. That's what I would have done. I would have reached out to Nintendo, say, let's do this. You make it, we pay for it, both consoles. And you know who wins? We all do. Because Banjo Kazooie, go look at the reaction videos when the Bird the Bear were announced for Smash. I'm getting goosebumps, bro. I watch those things, and I'm not even gonna front. Like sometimes I feel like welling up. That's how passionate I am about Banjo Kazooie. So I think that again, no room for panic that Astrobot is going to potentially be Game of the Year. But I also want to push back on anyone that's going to be like, "Hey, boom, platformers are not needed in 2024 on Xbox." You're wrong. You are wrong. And if you want younger gamers, like my nephew who's becoming an Xbox gamer, why don't you have those games? Family-friendly IP seems to have been just completely wiped away. If you're appealing to a wide audience, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to have games like Banjo Kazooie. But you can also have games like Gears of War. They can exist on a service that is the spice of life. Again, apologies for the long-windedness. Porkenstein, let's talk about it. Banjo Kazooie, does it have a place in 2024? Let's get your thoughts.
I think it definitely does. Like you said, you're spot on everything you said. Microsoft doesn't need to respond. They got so much in the pipeline right now. If they put anything else more, they're going to start cannibalizing their own games. That's always been something that's been a big risk with Game Pass. And when you're trying to hit 4 major releases in a year, you got to space that out. You got to do your release calendar right. Would I love a Banjo? 100%. Like I said, we're Banjo bros, 100%. But they don't need to respond. I will say if they do eventually, Astrobot sets a pretty high bar. It's definitely, I don't like comparing games. I think a lot of people do it. Like I think IGN, the reviewer there, he dropped Astro a point basically, or at least in his tweet, it made it sound like this. Because it wasn't the nostalgia hit or whatever that Odyssey was. It's like this is totally 2 different games. What works for Astrobot isn't going to work for a Banjo game, just like it's not going to work for Psychonauts too. You develop games with a certain narrative and with certain things involved that just build upon a foundation. But your foundation has to be solid. It has to be planned out right for you to build off of that. That's just the issue. And it's hilarious because we literally just talked about this, about how the last 2 years PlayStation's been floundering, yet people are still like, you need to make a Banjo game just like Sony. No, like, you don't have to make a platformer. We've learned that why do people still consistently want us to be like Sony? This is what's going to happen if that people keep pushing that mindset, people keep pushing that narrative. If you have everybody doing the same exact thing, they control you, the consumer, because now they can raise prices however they want because all of them are doing the same thing. You're going to get not very much diversity. You're going to see a drop in quality. You're going to see people not investing so much into their budgets because all of them are doing the same exact thing because you're all going to buy the same exact thing. This is why competition is healthy. This is why Xbox going off the beaten path is extremely healthy right now for the industry. It's changing. It's making waves. The consumers are winning, and that's what happens right now. You people, you guys have the power as consumers because of what Xbox is doing, because of what Nintendo's doing, because of what PlayStation's doing. There are 3 different paths, and that's power to you because now you get to vote with your wallet. And that's, I just don't understand. It's so frustrating how people keep saying the same exact thing. Be like PlayStation, be like PlayStation. Phil's already said that's not going to happen. They're not going to be a better green guy by being a better blue guy. That's just not how it works. So yeah, I don't think Microsoft needs to respond at all. If anything, I'd rather have them take 6-7 years to develop a solid platformer and then release. I don't want to see them trying to race to the finish line of, okay, well, Odyssey's coming out next year, or Odyssey 2 might be coming out next year. PlayStation has Astrobot, so we need to do something now. And they rushed 2-year development time, 3-year, and then now they're coming out with something like this. Astrobot works because it fits within the narrative, within the world, and it just works because it's simple. And that's, you would think simple's easy to do, but it's very, very hard to do in an art medium that will get a lot of people invested in it. So yeah, for me, Xbox doesn't have to respond. Take your time, do what you got to do. But yeah, people really do need to stop with the be like Sony. It's just, we've already seen their high balloon costs, low margins, launching a live service based off of, a cash grab. The PlayStation Pro 5, that's going to be another cash grab. It's just, that's the opposite of what you want as a consumer, where they're nickel and diming you for every little thing. So
at every corner, at every
any
instance,
corner they can, they own you. Like I said, and it's funny, I love your little T-Rex example and stuff. This is coming from the PlayStation crowd to where they're like, we buy our games, we don't rent, before they got their own kind of Walmart Game Pass system, for themselves. So, it's just hilarious how the narratives keep changing, but that's a totally different TED Talk for another time.
No, I mean, listen, again, first of all, shout out to the chat. 556 people here. Everyone is giving some fantastic points. Again, a lot of people that disagree with me. Like, I saw a couple of them in there. What about Minecraft? Listen, I put about an hour worth of Minecraft in my entire life. That game is definitely not for me at all. But that doesn't mean that I want it to go away or that it shouldn't exist. It's just not a game for me. Just like a Banjo game is only going to be for a subset of people. But the truth of the matter is that, again, Fuzzy, I do not think that that Xbox needs to be Nintendo or PlayStation. If anything has been proven to us, they are a different monster than they were in the Xbox One generation by leaps and bounds. And that is a great thing. They have doubled down on games as a service, and they took all the lumps for it, right? Everybody shit on Xbox for doing what they were doing, and that goes especially for the media. They browbeat them at every corner, right? They took all the arrows as they normally did, and look, everyone is trying to copy them now, right? And Sony tried and has continued to fail, and it looks like Fair Games is ultimately probably going to fail because that game is unappealing as well. And Marathon is a freaking nightmare. So, wow, talk about failure, right? So, Xbox doesn't have to be anybody. They are who we thought and wanted them to be. and they have returned to the monster that was the Xbox 360. Right now, granted, there's some wrinkles. They got some challenges. They got to do better communication, better messaging, better marketing. They don't have the same prowess, if you will, as they had during the 360 era, but they are making some unbelievable strides in first party, something that every Xbox fan has been asking for. So again, the success, and I say the success. I kind of want to just tiptoe around that word for Astrobot yet. Success is multi-pointed. All right. It could be the best reviewed game and sell like absolute crap. And you know what happens? Nothing. All right. Do you get a sequel? I am going to sit back. I bought it. You bought it, Korkenstein. I know a lot of people that bought it. I want to see if PlayStation Nation, the biggest talkers in the business, who didn't get the game for free because they sucked off Sony PlayStation and they're in their good graces, right? That actually bought the game, actually buy the game. Well, we will see if it succeeds in that era, and that aspect, I should say. It is succeeding in Metacritic. That's just reviews. It's a great game. It looks great, plays great. It's amazing if you are a PlayStation fan. It's amazing if you are a platformer fan. But if you're not, then it does absolutely nothing for you. One guy just wrote, hey, listen, I think he said 10 minutes in Call of Duty beta. Astro who? and I hear you. Like I'm at a crossroad myself. I mean, I'm addicted to Call of Duty, and I have never played Call of Duty like that. And I'm playing Astrobot, and I bought the big boy edition for Space Marine on the Xbox, and that game looks amazing. And I'm kind of stuck. Like, I don't know which way to go. I'm probably going to go play the beta again because, God damn it, the Black Ops 6 is so good. But let's get into the Banjo Kazooie talk. Again, this is not the biggest topic of the show. We have some other really big bombs that we're going to get into, but I think that it should exist. I think that Xbox has enough teams, I should say, to make a game. I don't think they have to reinvent the wheel. I don't think they have to make a Banjo 3E. If they don't have to do that, I think what they need to do is reintroduce the character to the world. I think of very similar to Lego Horizon. It's going to sell better on the Switch, no doubt about it. PlayStation gamers are not showing up for that game. I am freaking telling you right now, they are not going to show up for that game. It is going to be in that. It won't even hit the top 20 releases on PlayStation. Now, that's a different story when it releases on Switch. It is going to do big numbers there. So, again, Banjo Kazooie, if we're looking at this, I'm going to put on the business cap for a second over the mohawk and mess it up. I'm going to put the business cap on for a second. If we're talking about this from a business point of view, you team up with Nintendo to either make this game, market this game, publish this game. I don't care how you do it. And you do a dual release. I don't care if you don't release it on PlayStation. In fact, I personally wouldn't. But I understand how the bean counters are. But if I'm being a business person and you take a $20 million, not even a big investment, because you're not doing anything but putting a new skin on the bones. An HD skin on the bones is what you're doing. A full-on, when you see Banjo, the fur moves. Like, that's what I'm talking about, that kind of design. You do a dual release on Nintendo, you're going to make bank there. Nintendo people are going to show up. I don't know so much about the Xbox guys and gals. I know I'll show up, but my Banjo crew is like 6 people deep. That's about as many people as wants a Banjo game, and that's fine. I don't mind being a minority when it comes to that. Let's get your thoughts on some of the narratives. People, of course, Xbox has to respond, and even the media. I've seen it, and it's gross. It's gross. It's one game. It's a game that PlayStation needed. It's not going to save them from the last 2 years of a shit show. It's just not. But it's a triumph for them. They needed this W after what happened with Concord the same week, by the way. Let's get your thoughts.
I'll start off with the Xbox response. I don't think it's even warranted for the fact that they've had games that have released over the past couple of years that are first party. Some went multi-plat, but most didn't. So I don't think there's a response warranted. We had Hi-Fi Rush. Is Astrobot a response to Hi-Fi Rush? Possibly.
That's a great point.
Good point.
But I don't think Xbox needs to respond. I just think Xbox needs to continue with its plan forward as far as delivering all the games that they've shown us and some of the ones that they're still working on that they haven't shown us yet. As long as they continue to do that, I'm happy, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us will continue to be happy as well. As far as Banjo is concerned, I would love for them to have that. Not just for the fact that it's an IP that's sitting dormant, where Xbox or Microsoft as a whole has a lot of dormant IPs, but it would make sense in the landscape of, okay, well, we had Hi-Fi Rush as our platformer. They've kind of let that move on to another studio or to along with Tango, with them being reopened under was it Kraken or whatever the other team is that made the purchase for them. I would say have something that's either on par with, Crash Bandicoot or Banjo Kazooie. Have something where you use these IPs, you get the revenue from it, from where you could either do plush toys or just different skins or something. Like I think there's a missed opportunity. Like Xbox does a lot of things great, as far as there's been quite a few people here, and you'll have a super chat come up later about it, where they have a lot of different pillars of gaming covered. But as far as like that family friendly stuff, it would be nice. I don't think it's a have to have, because they still have those types of games in the Game Pass service. But using the IPs that they have would make sense, just for the fact that they could turn around and make money off of those, and do the fan service where you keep those that are looking forward to those happy. And like you said, if they do some sort of partnership with Nintendo and it's a dual release in that regard, much like the way Horizon, the Lego Horizon is, I wouldn't be mad at that, because it's not necessarily a game from under my radar, but I would say it's an extra game that'll be in Game Pass that I'll probably give a try and get some achievement points out of, and enjoy my time while I'm there. And I think that's something that they should look at. But I don't think they have to do it as a direct response. I just think that's something that they can add to the plethora of games that they already have. Like me personally, I'm more of the focus on fighting games first. Like do your Killer Instinct 2 and take some of the characters from Bleeding Edge and mix those in there, or maybe even put Banjo and Kazooie in there, or whatever the case may be. I think going with the Killer Instinct, and you could do a Smash Brothers style game as well, but I'd rather have like Killer Instinct be fully fleshed out, whether they have to acquire NetherRealm to help do that, and maybe have a crossover between Killer Instinct and something like what do you call
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. I think that's probably a bigger bet for them to make, that I think would pay off. Although it's still not the biggest niche in comparison to, let's say, third person over the shoulder story stuff, or even their first person shooters for that matter. So, but there's always room for it. Having Game Pass makes it the best opportunity to put something like that in there, to draw more of a family friendly base into the service. I mean, you have a lot of third party already there doing that, but I'm all for it. Whether you hand it off to Double Fine, or because Rare doesn't want to touch any of their old stuff.
No,
hand it to Double Fine, or use Toys for Bob. Like right now, you have that partnership where you got something possibly in the works. We'll find out what that is, hopefully in the next 4 years or so. But they have Double Fine that they can partner with. They still have Tango that they can partner with, as well as their internal studios that they can, assign, or maybe they volunteer to do something like that. Like, look at how, Playground Games stepped up and was like, yeah, we'll take on Fable, because we were looking to do an RPG, an open world RPG. So maybe Playground tries something different again after Fable's complete, and they got, Forza Horizon 6 ready to go. So we'll see how things work out. But yeah, I'm all for it, but I don't think they need to do it as a response. Just do it as just something to fill the catalog and make Game Pass that even bigger value with your first party, as far as things that people may not be expecting or people would be looking to, possibly as even if the Xbox is their second console or they play it on their PC or whatever. I think having that in your catalog is worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, great points all around. Korkenstein and Fuzzy, you knocked it out of the park. In closing for this particular topic, no, Xbox does not have to respond. They are responding. Look at their lineup. Look at their roadmap. That's called responding. Would it be nice for them to have a game that I would appreciate? Sure. Am I the minority? 100%.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
Casey in the chat made a point: Banjo and Party Animals.
I mean,
that'd be a way to, at least put the
there
IP
are
to use.
A lot of things that they could do with the. And this is a topic for another day. I've talked about this topic probably 10 times over. They have so many amazing IP that if you were to do a fighter like Smash or a racer like Mario Kart, but really take it to another level. I mean, does anyone remember the Sega Racing All Stars, where Banjo Kazooie were in that, by the way, on the 360 version? They had levels from every Sega yesteryear game that you could possibly imagine. They even had a Shinobi level. It was unbelievable. I played that game like it was going out of style just for the nostalgia. I wish. I mean, again, they have some of the best racing teams on the planet. You'd love to see them just send out a memo. Anybody want to make a kart racer? And it doesn't have to have a $300 million budget. It just doesn't. And it would be, it'd be a third racer, and it would be another one that it would be a character-based racer, or Killer Instinct 2, a character-based fighter. They have the characters. It's almost a shame that they don't use them. But listen, we still got to get into the GTA rumor for right now, because it has not been officially announced. We've heard some things. I've heard some things. I've talked to two people. I'm going to get into what I heard. Some things I cannot talk about. I was asked not to mention. I will not mention those. But I was authorized to say that, well, there is a marketing deal and PlayStation got it. We're going to get into how they got it, and more importantly, why they got it. So we have Don Otaku drops not one but two super chats. And the first one of $2, he says, remember, Rift Apart hasn't even hit 2 million. So I looked it up just for, and it didn't sell well. Rift Apart, I bought it. I loved every second of it, and it didn't sell well. So Rift Apart, according to total sales, I just pulled this up. This comes from Video Game Sales Wiki. Now, again, that could be changed. So I'm just going based on what's in front of me. It says 2,724,000. So just a few 100,000 from 3 million. Is that great? I don't know. I don't think it is, to be honest with you, but that's what it's saying. But, again, you're right. Well, again, Don, that is why I am holding judgment to say whether or not Astrobot is a quote-unquote success, because I'm enjoying it. And I gladly bought the digital deluxe edition. I know a lot of people that have. There's going to be a lot of people that don't either. And a lot of the ones that don't buy it are the same ones on the socials running around with these W flags because of a Metacritic. They're frauds. A lot of them are just a bunch of giant fake ass gamers who don't even play games, because you don't know what they play, because they have their trophies hidden, because they're cowards. They play Twitter. They have platinums out their ass on Twitter, but they don't have platinums in real life on actually playing on their PS4s and 5s. They're frauds. A lot of them. Don Otaku drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, platformers are needed, but Banjo Crash are not appealing an appealing IP in my opinion. Astrobot is, because it can represent any PlayStation IP. Interesting. That's a great theory and thought. They need a new platformer IP. I mean, if you want to go nasty, you can bring back Conquer. You know what I'm saying? Conquer was very adult. and he said some really wild shit. So I mean, I'm just saying, bring him back and let someone that knows how to make a foul mouth squirrel good. I don't know. We have here a $20 super chat from 1234986. Reminds me of a song from the 80s. Thank you so much for the generosity. We super appreciate that here. He says, let Sony have Game of the Year. No matter what Xbox does, the media will never let them get it. And you are 1,000% correct in that. Game of the Year doesn't mean you made the most money that year. Xbox just needs to be everywhere and get all of the money they can. And ultimately, that's what they're going to do. And look, I have stock. It's right up over here. It's not a lot. I'm not making a whole bunch of money. Games going multi-plat. My stance has always been I'm going to never really officially bend the knee for it. I don't like it. I get it. I understand it. It is what it is. It's the future. It's not the future I would have done, but I'm also not running a $3 trillion company. But when they make money, and again, I don't know the business cue cards for what Microsoft is going to do. I like to believe that the more money they make, the more investment they put into Game Pass, which as a consumer is great for me, it's great for you, and we all win, right? They get money, we get games in Game Pass, and we get first-party development. So it's a win all around. But that's if they follow those rules. We have LeBurn98. Welcome back, LeBurn. Nice to see you, and thank you so much for the very generous $5 super chat. He says, I would love a new Banjo. However, if Xbox needs a platformer, then PlayStation needs RTS, RPGs, arcade racers, co-op, shooters, sims, survival, MMOs, etc. Brother, I couldn't have said it better myself, because that's exactly what they have in first party right now today in Xbox Game Pass for your $20 a month. And Sony does not have that. So you are 1,000%. That's why I said I see the panic, and I'm like, folks, did you watch the June show? I've watched that show 12 times at least. And every time I watch it, I get even more excited for the brand. Like, I get it's been a lot of people like poo-pooing it. You should not be mad at Xbox for putting games in other places to make money. That's their business. Again, I don't like it, but I'm not mad. I'm not leaving the brand. Look what's happening for Xbox. Are you freaking kidding me? That's why when I saw on the socials that people are running around with these W flags and saying Xbox has to respond, that's why I wanted to make that a topic. They've already responded. Sony needs to respond. This is a win for Sony. Make no mistake. They needed this in the worst way, because today they're closing Concord. So they got a win and an L today, right? So listen, no one's taking away any shade from Sony, and you shouldn't. They've made some really poor decisions, and they're the market leader because, well, they're the market leader. I don't know how much longer that's going to be. We'll see what happens when Call of Duty gets into Game Pass in October. Based on the numbers that you're seeing for the beta right now, it's going to be a bloodbath. People are coming back to Xbox. This is the 360 era revisited. I'm telling you, it is. But we'll see. Gentlemen, let's get into the rumor that PlayStation has gotten the marketing rights for Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm going to say this from inception. I think it's not an L for Xbox or Microsoft. I think it is a bit of a miss. Here's why. Now, you've heard on this show many times before, boot on next season. We have a couple of guys in the chat that consistently say that. And Big Mad Mo is one of them. Joe Dunmore is another. Hashtag boot on neck. You own Call of Duty, the biggest IP in the world. Black Ops 6 is going to bring the kids back to the yards, bro. I'm telling you, it is. Look, I am not a Call of Duty player, and I put over 20 hours into that beta. I don't play betas like that. I just want to play the game. For the last decade, go right to single player when I get a new Call of Duty. Not this time. I'm going right to multiplayer. And before I get to single player, I'm going to top tier it out. I cannot wait to get back to the beta. I am so invested in Black Ops 6. It's so fast. It's so fun. I cannot wait to get into it. So you own this IP. You have marketing for this IP. And crazy enough, it's in your freaking service day one. Game Pass Ultimate day freaking one. So why I think it's a bit of a miss for Xbox is if you get marketing for Call of Duty next year, you have it. You have the marketing. You own the IP. It's yours. And then you go out and you spend probably a pretty penny for marketing for Grand Theft Auto 6. And you have a year like they have lined up. Does anyone even know what a PlayStation is after that? Because you're going to be rolling 2025. And again, this is hypothetical because they don't have the marketing. The rumor is PlayStation got it. But you go into 2025 with South of Midnight, Fable, potentially Clockwork Revolution, right? You got Call of Duty on the back end of the year. Again, holiday, this is what the rumor is, that holiday 2025 is Grand Theft Auto 6. You are king of everything. You got shooters. You got one of the most anticipated games in the world. It's going to break $1 billion in the first day that it goes on sale. If you spend the marketing money and listen, it was probably something with a B, right? That's $1 billion investment. There is no doubt that cost Sony $1 billion. And why was Sony able to do that, you ask? Well, the easy answer is they weren't paying for Call of Duty anymore. Now they have extra money, right? That Call of Duty marketing is gone. They can't get it. They're not going to offer Microsoft that, right? Jim Ryan said it himself. Everyone's going to now look at Call of Duty at some point and think Xbox. They don't want to market that. So now they're taking those marketing dollars and they're going to get the biggest one that they could possibly get. And it's Grand Theft Auto, according to a couple of people on the internet, a couple of people that I spoke to, one of which, of course, was Mag from XNC with Colt Eastwood. Obviously, Mag used to work with us on Primetime Gaming. Mag has great connections. Whether you like him, you hate him, you love him, or you're lukewarm, I know that he talks to people, and I know some of the people he talks to. So he came out and said it on XNC, and, well, that's the rumor. Could that change? Unlikely, to be honest with you, from what I've heard. But Korkenstein, is this a miss for Xbox? Because, look, let's call a spade here. At any one point, Microsoft could have been like, yeah, we'll give you this much more. We want it. And Sony, at some point, was going to have to back off. They have limited funds. They're not Microsoft. Not on their best day. They can even lace up one of the boots of Microsoft. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it can be a miss. It just depends for the reason why. So, I mean, you get this all the time. People say Xbox, we feel like second-class citizens. How would you feel if they're putting their marketing, a third-party marketing over their own marketing for their own games, for their own consumers in Game Pass? Mm-hmm. Like they're saying, yeah, we're not going to market this game. We're not going to support our developers. We'd rather support GTA 6 because money. Financially, yeah, that might make good business sense, but you're basically, crapping on your own devs, and for GTA 6. And I mean, who knows this, like I said, it's probably close to $1 billion, if not over, that GTA is asking for marketing. How is that going to pay off for Sony if they can't get their PS5 consumers above, out of that 50% range where they're still on PS4? I mean, I'd be very surprised if GTA 6 came out as PS4 and Xbox One, Xbox Series X. Honestly, I think they probably took the original. I mean, I wouldn't say delay, because I don't think they ever had a release date. But honestly, I would say the reason why they're taking so long is because they're waiting and hoping that next gen console, market hits that. So, I mean, let's just, throw out some theories here, some hypotheticals. What happens to PlayStation if they spent $1 billion on marketing and they still have at least half of their user base on PS4 for a game that is going to release next gen? It just seems like a shot in the foot. So for at least for Sony, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they can get that above, even if they can get an extra 20%, I'd say that's probably worth it in the end. But we really don't have any clue what PlayStation, where they're going to be at with their PS5 console sales. So it's a calculated risk. Xbox, like I said, they have a ton of stuff. We don't even really know what their 2025 end of year looks like yet.
Right.
We're going to see a lot at E3, and they may have another stacked holiday that they're just like, you know what, we can't do this. Like, there's no way we're gonna forget our own catalog, our own developers, our own games for Grand Theft Auto 6. Let Sony waste the $1 billion on it for only 50% of their user base that they can reach. And who knows, maybe maybe Xbox might do something else with them, like some Game Pass deal to where it's not a marketing deal, but hey, we'll get some Game Pass rewards, like a skin color for a car, or things like that. So who knows what they might do. I don't think it's necessarily a miss per se, but we'd have to know the reasons why. And that's the little caveat there. So could it be a miss? Who knows? We'll only know when we see how it plays out and we see the sales for who bought what for where and how.
Great thoughts all around. Again, we'll see. One thing that we haven't seen is PlayStation's go on sale. Right? They haven't really lowered the price. They just raised it in Japan. The Pro is expected to be anywhere between $600 and $700. That's the rumor. We'll see if we even get a Pro this year. Right? We will see. That's supposedly that's happening soon in September, but insiders could be wrong. But needless to say, 51% or over 50% of PlayStation users right now are on PS4s. How do you get these people after 4 years of playing on a series on an old console to get the new one? You put a game that's not available on that console. Grand Theft Auto, Fuzzy, is going to move mountains. But interestingly enough, and this is where I kind of think maybe this is the Microsoft take. They're working with 2K. There's been no talk about the Series S holding back this game, right? There's been no talk of that. So I think Microsoft might be like, you know what? Look what happened with NCAA 25. How many Series S consoles did they sell? How many people that actually work in GameStop said, yeah, people were trading in their PS4s to get a Series S, and they were walking out with it for under $200? Well, in the era that we're in, where money is tight for everybody, I don't care what circles you run in, money is tight for everybody. You're getting less, you're getting much less, and you're spending more. That's a fact. So entertainment always goes on the back burner. Next year, is it going to be better? I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea. For all I know, it could be worse. Maybe Microsoft was like, you know what? Next year, parts are going to be cheaper, right? We're going to have a bunch of stock on the Series S. People are going to switch. People from PS4 gamers are going to switch. Maybe they come back. Maybe they come back this year for Call of Duty, right? Now, granted, Call of Duty can be played on the PS4 and Xbox One, but maybe Game Pass is the outlier, if you will. Oh wow, I can get a cheap system, $20 a month, Call of Duty, all of these games, and then they go and they buy Grand Theft Auto on that platform. Maybe that's the thought and theory. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. What are your thoughts on this, man? Is it a miss for Xbox or not really?
It's hard to predict at this point, but because if you look at like what was it, GTA 3, I think was the one that Xbox back in the day had passed up on, and that really helped PlayStation, ever since. And then when it came to GTA 4, originally PlayStation had the marketing, and then I think Microsoft did a counter, a good enough counter that they got the DLC that PS3 didn't get until like years later or something type of thing. So there's so many moving pieces. Like, I'm going to call it now. Rockstar is going to delay this out of 2025. If they don't, this would be the first game in their history that they call a release year and it actually lands in that year. So we could be looking at 2026, but let's just say they stay on track. They pull out a miracle. It comes out 2025. When it comes out in 2025, which will probably be closer to holiday time, typically GTA releases somewhere between September and November. There's going to be deals on Series S's more than likely. There might even be deals on Series X's, especially the all digital. So it all depends. Now, the way Sony markets, that's a problem because they always market it almost as if the only place to play is on their box. And I would hope that Phil would have kind of, wanted to counter that, just for the fact that he already knows how Sony plays, especially with the whole Black Myth Wukong thing. They're not playing. Well, it's business, so nobody needs to play fair. They just need to play to win, kind of thing. And knowing that that's Sony's MO, this might be a miss, but it's only a miss if PlayStation is doing pack-ins. And if they're doing pack-ins with the regular PS5, and then they miraculously drop that price to below 400 at that point, because maybe the PS5 Pro is at a more reasonable price, like whatever the PS5 is currently, then it would be a miss. But I don't think that's in the cards for PlayStation, because right now, considering, like you said, they raised the price for the PS5 in Japan. I don't see them lowering the price on their own for the holidays. Maybe $50 off. Your Targets and your Walmarts will be more likely to do better deals than what PlayStation themselves will do. But that's just because they're willing to eat some cost to get stuff out the door, or to at least get you in the store to hopefully spend more money, kind of thing. But it's hard to say that it's going to be a miss, in the sense that, like you said, the Series S is still going to be reasonably priced. You can get one for under 300 today. You can get one for under 250 if you really look. Around holiday times, you'll probably be able to get one closer to the 200 mark, if not below. And that's without even having to trade something in. So we've seen stuff like that in previous holidays. I don't know if you could get 200. Well, it also depends, I guess, on what GTA's pricing is, because some people are still saying that that's going to be $100 game. I don't know. I think it still goes for 70.
Not.
I still think it goes for 70, unless they kick the whole pricing thing out the window and say it's like WoW and you now have to have a subscription to play it. I see 2K doing that, or Take-Two doing that more so than anything, which would change up a lot of stuff. If they do go the subscription route, whether PlayStation has the marketing or not, it's probably going to be better to do that whole subscription thing through Xbox, just because it would be overall cheaper with their core thing versus the PS Plus, although they may have adjusted the PS Plus for the annual price to be on par with Xbox Game Pass Core. But it's tough to say right now. But I would have liked to see Microsoft, like you said, put the boot to the neck and get that marketing. But for $1 billion, I
Probably not worth it. Yeah.
They got Call of Duty. They have their roadmap of games. You can still play Grand Theft Auto on an Xbox. I don't think that $1 billion would be worth it in the long term. But if they were more focused on selling consoles, yeah, then it would be a misterm. But they've even said they're not focused on selling consoles as much as getting subscriptions, or getting people into the ecosystem. So from their strategy, it's not a miss. From us old heads that look at the console wars in the old-fashioned light of the days of Sega and Nintendo, it's a bit of a miss. But I don't think it's going to hurt them any more than any other different game that Sony gets the marketing for. I think the real thing is the Series S, if provided, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be playable without any problems.
Yep.
I would say that's going to be the winner. Now, will it be 60 frames on any of these boxes?
No.
I don't think so. Not even the
Nope.
PS5 Pro. And I've said that from jump. It won't be 60 until either next gen, which Xbox is, nudging that'll be a 2026 thing. So that also might play into their hands where you don't need marketing if you have the next gen, which will be the better playing version at that time. So we'll see. But I don't think it's a miss personally, but it would have been nice to see them, really stomp them out.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's man, look, none of us are business analysts. What the hell do we know, right? Like when I have 6 or 7 or 8 zeros in my bank account, then we'll have a conversation. That's probably never going to happen in my lifetime. It's fine. But look, at the end of the day, as an Xbox gamer, nothing to worry about. You have a lot of games coming out for the remainder of the year. Your service and Game Pass has been better than it's ever been. Again, Astrobot is a win for PlayStation. That does not make it an L for Xbox. I want that to be clear here. Yes, I want a Banjo. I'm in the minority. I totally get that. Am I ever going to get one? I'm never going to stop hoping, just like I'm never going to stop hoping that one day Splinter Cell will return when I can still hold a controller in my hand. But we will see. Fingers crossed, arthritis and everything. But again, 3 great topics. The chat, you guys and gals, were absolutely astounding. Big opinions. Everyone was very civil with one another, and of course with us, the host. I did see some of those virtual tomatoes. It's fine. I have thick skin. I was a cop, remember? So I got called all kinds of stuff. So the virtual tomatoes, they don't really bother me. But listen, that's going to do it for us. Let me just get the last super chat. 90 minutes in and out on a Friday morning. Now it's time to let people loose. You got plenty of games to play, whether it be Astrobot, whether it be Space Marine, whether it be Age of Empires, because I know people are playing that crazily. Of course, the Call of Duty beta is live, so people are going to be running to that. I'm probably going to be playing that this afternoon. Captain Chats drops a very generous £5 super chat. And Captain Chats goes on to say, why on earth would Take-Two give marketing rights to Xbox? We have all seen Xbox marketing as Take-Two. You're not wrong. Was obvious that Sony would get it. Honestly, I kind of knew in my bones that Sony was going to get it because, well, this is something that they could not miss on. But I would have loved to see the Peter Moore-esque 360 boot on neck kind of. Do you remember when that was exclusive? Grand Theft Auto 4. Like, what? That's what I was hoping for. We know, listen, Phil's a great guy. He's also a nice guy. And we also understand that $1 billion, which I'm telling you, it's cost $1 billion to get this marketing. There's no doubt about it, at least. Well, someone's going to do a story on how much Sony had to spend to get it. If they did, remember, it's still a rumor. Sony hasn't announced it. The only thing I have heard is that announcement for Sony marketing is going to come along with the second trailer. I would imagine that second trailer, when do we expect that? The Game Awards, ladies and gentlemen. Of course it's going to be at the Game Awards, right? And we'll see. We will certainly see. A big thank you to all of the super chats that have popped in. We greatly appreciate the generosity. Again, you don't have to do it, but we certainly appreciate it, and it does allow for us to do the big giveaway. And we are having one at the end of the month. That's right, folks. It's September. That means that the week of September 25th, I'm turning 54. So we're going to have our 6th annual Boom's Birthday Bash, where we are giving at least $500 worth of gift cards away on that live stream. It's probably going to be a breakfast with Boom. I don't know the denominations because I like kind of spreading it out for a lot of people. So I think it's going to be 10 $50 digital gift cards to, of course, your favorite place, Steam. We've recently added Steam because people have been asking for it. So it's either going to be the gift card for Steam, it's going to be Xbox, it's going to be PlayStation, or of course Nintendo eShop. And we're one of the few channels that does this. If you are an international viewer and you do win, you're still going to get your prize. The only way that we can send that money to you is via PayPal. because it is safety for us. No cash apps, but we, Mrs. Boom and I, will pay for any transfer fees and any denominational value differences for your country having more value in the dollar. We cover all of that. If you win and the picker from StreamYards picks you win. And again, that's going to be happening. We'll be doing some advertising in the coming weeks. That is going to be the end of the month towards my birthday. Again, it's the 6th annual Boom's Birthday Bash. And of course, all you got to do to win is, well, be in the chat. Now, the first 5 winners are going to be channel members. They get first crack at everything because, well, they're supporting me and Mrs. Boom behind the scenes, and they allow for us to do these big giveaways. So the first half of any contest that we do goes to channel members first. With that said, for me, for Fuzzy, of course, for Korkenstein, I want to wish you a great weekend. Korkenstein, let's sell your brand, brother. Let's talk about Xbox Gumbo. Let's talk about a very unique, very different podcast where in one of the upcoming episodes, they're going to brave the wilds of MREs, which is terrifying if you know what those are, and they're not good. But hey, brother, let's talk about it. Sell your brand. Where can people check out the work that you're doing on your YouTube channel, with who you are working with, and more importantly, follow you on social media?
Game Pass Gumbo is something that's absolutely solid. It's a great idea. It's the brainchild of my buddy Goldshell. He was in the chat earlier today. It's about just finding games and how they associate with food and the culture and just everything about it, because games as an art medium are very creative. So is food. You're always going to find it like even with Star Wars Outlaws, we're seeing these crazy dishes that you and Nix can eat. Maybe we might do something special, some of the most outrageous dishes we've ever had. But we try and incorporate it for a love of 2 things, and that's gaming and food. It's about eat, game, be happy kind of thing. It's absolutely solid idea. So it's called Game Pass Gumbo. We've been on hiatus because of my work schedule. We talked about it at the top of the hour for the top of the show. So we're going to bring that back. We're looking at possibly a Call of Duty episode. Yeah, where, like you said, we brave the MRE world of rations, and it's going to be interesting. So that'll be pretty cool. We also you can find me on Twitter at the Korkenstein, on X or Twitter, whatever you guys like to call it now. And that's pretty much it. So thank you again, Boom, for having me. Fuzzy, it's been awesome talking with you as always. Solid opinions from both of you guys. And as always, your chat, man, it's just absolutely amazing. I say it mostly every single time. You really do have the best chat and community here, Boom. So thank you guys for making the conversations fun and reasonable.
Yeah. Well, this chat rocks. And thank you so much for being a part of this show each and every Friday. And Fuzzy Belvedere, you have a show, or your wife has a show happening this evening. Obviously, it's horror based. So if you're into horror conversation and horror podcast, you should definitely check it out. He's going to tell you where you can do that and what time. But Fuzzy Belvedere also has his own YouTube channel, one of the best in the business when it comes to anything and everything in the racing genre. And you should be subscribed to it as well. Fuzzy, sell the brands with an S, where they can subscribe. More importantly, what time the show is going live tonight, and where could people find you on social media?
Well, always thank you for having me on. Greatly appreciate the opportunity, and always love doing the podcast with you and Korkenstein. This is like the best way to start off the gaming weekend. So it kicks off right at this moment and goes on and all the way through Sunday type of deal. But man, oh man, this is going to be a fun weekend. Everybody be safe out there. Enjoy the Black Ops 6 beta that's making an appearance again. Get your kicks while you're at it now. Push that thing to its limits. Do the whole meat shield thing and see where you can take it type of deal. But this was an awesome show. Always love being on here with you guys. Thanks to everybody in the chat for checking us out. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. And if you want to hear any of my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, whether it's racing games or horror, just follow me on Twitter, or the app formerly known as Twitter, at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also follow my wife, Ferocious Fee 78, on Twitter. And if you're into the horror genre in general, just check out our podcast on YouTube at 6 p.m. tonight. Drop the link already in the chat. We're going to be reviewing the Milk and Cereal found footage horror movie. So should be interesting for those that are into the found footage or just serial killers in general. It's going to be a fun discussion. So definitely check that out. 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Fright Night with Ferocious V. Once again, I'll drop the link in the chat. And also, you can find me on a number of other podcasts like Xbox Ultimate later on tonight on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. The Shop Podcast on PTK Blam's channel on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then me and 3-Bit will be doing Pixelated Echoes on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Just do a search on YouTube for Pixelated Echoes. And then hope to see everybody right back here in this chat for Xbox Lunch Break Special, first thing, 12 noon on Monday. Hope to see you guys there.
Well, thank you once again for being here. And again, thank you to everyone that tuned in. Hopefully you had as much fun as we did. Again, the chat was amazing. The conversations were fantastic. I love how you can be pointed but not be insulting. And that's how everyone was. And that's how everyone conducted themselves. And that's what makes this chat special. We can have our pointed opinions. We can think differently, but we don't have to be D's about it. And I love that about this chat. So thank you. Congratulations to you for keeping it a buck, as the kids like to say. Real quick, we have OG Frost dropping a very generous $10 super chat as we get out of here. And he says, I've had plenty of MREs in the Army. Good memories. Yeah, they're just not good. But I've said this before. If you are dying of hunger, and it's live or die, you are going to scarf those things down like it's freaking Thanksgiving. I'll tell you that right now. But again, folks, thank you so much for being here. Super appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy gaming on whatever console you enjoy gaming on. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.